things conservation, all things wildlife. Let's start the conversation with Rumbi Takawira. This is Conservation Conversation on ZFM Stereo.
What if we could save the world one podcast at a time? What if we could uncover the secrets of nature and protect our planet for future generations? Can we really derive maximum benefits from our natural resources without destroying them? What if we could solve the wildlife and human conflicts without harm to either side? Join us on the Conservation Conversation as we explore new ways to protect our natural resources and prevent harm to our planet.
Farming on wetlands, we say no. Building on wetlands, we say no. Farming on wetlands, we say no. Building on wetlands, we say no. Let's preserve our wetlands, let's manage. Let's restore value and love our wetlands. City high ewakeni amakaposini. Asilondolozeni amakaposi. Taura ya upenyu, taura ya ramangwana. Yeah! Farming on wetlands, we say no. Building on wetlands, we say no. Restore and love our wetlands. This message is brought to you by the Environmental Management Agency, EMA, together protecting the environment.
Indeed, together let's protect the environment. Hello and welcome to the Conservation Conversation right here on ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, where we lead the African narrative on conservation. As I always say, for Africans, by Africans. Thank you so much for joining us. Playing in the background is Daniel Dushel's Enduring Hope. Feel free to get in touch with us on 0772 168045. That's plus 263 772 168045. Or follow us on social media at ZFM Stereo across all platforms and at _conservation_conversation on Instagram. Or just follow me at Rumbi Takawira on Instagram and at Newsbay on X. And today we kick off an exciting and educational series as we count down to COP15. That's the 15th conference of the contracting parties to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. That's happening this July right here in Zimbabwe, in the majestic town of Victoria Falls. Now, you may be wondering, what is COP15? What is Ramsar? Why do wetlands matter to me as an ordinary Zimbabwean? Well, this episode is just for you. Let's get into it.
I'm Rumbi Takawira, a conservation journalist, wildlife enthusiast, adventurer, and an advocate for community development. I have embarked on a journey to discover the vastness of nature and how we can play a part to protect it. The dangers, the effects, and the solutions to sustaining the earth. It's the Conservation Conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us as we are discussing key topics that affect our lives and our planet right here on the Conservation Conversation. So tonight we're discussing wetlands and the importance of protecting them, specifically looking at the 15th Conference of Parties, that's COP15, to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. And the Ramsar COP15 will be held here in Zimbabwe from the 23rd to the 31st of July. That's this year, marking the first time that this global wetlands convention actually convenes in Southern Africa. Isn't it a great time as we're holding the chairmanship of SADC? Right. So today we're joined by Mr. Mangisi, Mr. Phanuel Kudakwashe Mangisi. He is Zimbabwe's national focal point to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, and he's also a representative from the Environmental Management Agency. He's the Environmental Impact Assessment Manager, and he also looks at ecosystem services. And by the way, this treaty, the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, is domesticated through the Environmental Management Act, which is enforced by the Environmental Management Agency, EMA. Mr. Mangisi, welcome to the Conservation Conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you to help us open up our Ramsar series and just break it down to our listeners.
Thank you, Rumbi, for having me on your show.
Now let's start at the very beginning, because for someone hearing about it for the first time, they're like, what is Ramsar? What's the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands? And why was it created? Talk to us about that and break it down for us, please.
A good evening to you, all our listeners. I hope I find you well from wherever you are listening from. My name is Phanuel Kudakwashe Mangisi from the Environmental Management Agency, EMA. I am the manager responsible for environmental impact assessments and ecosystems protection. I am also Zimbabwe's national focal person on the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. For those who are hearing for the first time, what is Ramsar Convention on Wetlands? What does it deal with? So, the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands is a convention that deals with management of wetlands. And this convention on wetlands was opened for signature in the town of Ramsar, which is in Iran, on the 2nd of February 1971. Why the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands? So, the Ramsar Convention was developed as a response to increasing pressure. The Ramsar Convention was developed as a response to the destruction of wetlands and the impacts of this kind of destruction on both the people and our biodiversity. So, the convention's mission is conservation and wise use of all wetlands. This can be done through local and national action plans as well as international cooperation.
Thank you for breaking that down. Talking about Ramsar, which is the oldest multilateral environmental agreement, I'll have you know this. And as Mr. Mangisi has mentioned, signed in 1971 in the city of Ramsar, Iran. The reason why it's called Ramsar, you know, like how we call the Paris Agreement, because it was signed in Paris. This is the same as the Ramsar Convention, which was signed in the city of Ramsar in Iran. That's why it's called the Ramsar Convention. And it focuses specifically on wetlands. You know, those marshes, the swamps, the flays that we see, and often without realizing how critical they are for our food, our livelihoods, and also our biodiversity and water. So with 172 countries now signed on, and even more wanting to join, the Convention on Wetlands has evolved into a powerful tool for wetland conservation. And so now, Mr. Mangisi, Zimbabwe, having become a party to the Ramsar Convention in 2013, what does that actually mean for how we manage our wetlands day to day? Talk to us about that.
So, since the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands was opened for signature in 1971 to date, the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands is a total membership of 172 countries or contracting parties that have joined or ratified the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. Zimbabwe is the country. We ratified the Ramsar Convention on 3 May 2013. So what does this mean for Zimbabwe? It means the government of Zimbabwe is committed towards wise use of wetlands. It means the government of Zimbabwe is committed towards sustainable management and protection of our wetlands. Prior to the ratification of the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands in 2013, the government of Zimbabwe already had a legal framework in place to deal with wetlands management issues. The Environmental Management Act, Chapter 2027, Section 113, has provisions to deal with the wetlands management issues. In addition to Section 113 of the Environmental Management Act, Chapter 2027, the government of Zimbabwe also promulgated Statutory Instrument 7 of 2007 to deal with wetlands management issues. This means the government of Zimbabwe is committed towards wetlands management. In addition to the legal framework, we also have a national wetlands policy in place, which was formulated and approved in 2021. We also have a National Wetlands Management Utilization Guidelines, which was also formulated and approved in 2021. We also have a National Wetlands Master Plan, which was also adopted in 2021. In addition to the policies and legal framework in place, the government of Zimbabwe, through the Environmental Management Agency, is also gazetting wetlands as ecological sensitive areas. This is also in response to the provisions of Section 113 of the Environmental Management Act, Chapter 2027. What it means is, if wetlands are gazetted as ecologically sensitive areas, there are limitations that are imposed in terms of infrastructure developments. In addition to the policy and gazetting, the country has also developed a national wetlands management database. All in all, it shows the government of Zimbabwe is really committed to wise use of wetlands.
And that actually brings me to the state of our wetlands right now. A recent national wetland mapping exercise revealed that only 17% of Zimbabwe's wetlands are still in pristine condition, which means close to 83% of our wetlands are actually in danger. They need attention. But that's really worrying, Mr. Mangisi. But what would you say are the biggest threats to our wetlands today? And how are we as Zimbabwe, because this is a global challenge where wetlands are in trouble. Here in Zimbabwe, how are we balancing our urban development, looking at agriculture and wetland conservation?
Rumbi, I think it is very important and fair that I also highlight to the listeners the importance of wetlands before I go to the threats that you are talking about. So these wetlands, our listeners out there, I know you already know some of the importance of the wetlands, but let me just highlight a few importance. So our wetlands are vital ecosystems that have traditionally provided a wide range of ecological goods and services. What are some of these goods and services that are provided for by our wetlands? Wetlands provides water, so that is water provision, flood control, support for biodiversity, local climate control, food provisions. Wetlands are also a habitat for a wide range of animal and plant species. But however, our wetlands are being threatened by human activities. Listeners out there, it is also very important that I also highlight that in terms of wetland coverage in our country, wetlands, they cover 34.96% of the total area of the country, according to a study that was done in 2021. What it means is 34.96% of the country is covered by wetlands, which are of importance. So these wetlands are also being threatened by human activities, mainly competing interests for land utilization. What are some of the threats? Some of the threats are coming from urban expansion, your industrial activities, your housing development projects, your agriculture activities, be it in the urban areas or even in the rural areas, your mining activities. So what it means is, because our wetlands are being threatened, it is very important that we then take a proactive approach to manage the remaining wetlands that we have. That's why I have talked about the policies that are coming in place, the gazetting of wetlands as ecological sensitive areas, even the legal framework that is being crafted to try and salvage the remaining wetlands that we have. It is also very important to note that according to the study that was done in 2021, of the 34.96% total area that is covered by wetlands, it was noted that 17.63% of the remaining wetlands are in pristine conditions, or they are in good conditions, whilst the remaining are being threatened by human activities. So that is then why it is very important that we conserve the remaining wetlands.
Definitely, Mr. Mangisi, and you've spoken about so many key issues and even Emma's role in how they're supposed to be ensuring that they're overseeing how the wetlands are being managed? Of course, you've spoken about the challenges. Some of these challenges, I know a lot of you listeners know a lot of these challenges and you'd want us to delve deeper into the challenges, but that's not what we're talking about today. But we will get to talking about the challenges when we get into the communities, when we get to hear your stories and actually start to understand what you know about the wetlands and why so much disservice has been happening to our wetlands, right? But that's not what we're talking about now. But ensure that you keep following the series because we are going to get deeper into all the issues that we need to understand. And you really summed it up well together, explaining the importance of these wetlands, because a lot of us might not actually understand why we should be protecting these wetlands. Right, they look like wastelands to some. But let's turn to COP15 quickly before we sort of domesticate Ramsar. Looking at COP15 itself, and Zimbabwe is hosting this major international conference for the first time in Southern Africa. And this is from the 23rd to the 31st of July, right? This year, it's in a few months' time. It's literally 105 days to go. What is COP15? And why is it such a significant moment for us as a nation? And what are we hoping to get out of this?
Yes, Rumbi. Zimbabwe will be hosting COP15 from 23 to 31 July 2025 at Elephant Hills Hotel in Victoria Falls. To our listeners out there, you might be wondering, what is COP15? We have been talking about Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, which has got 172 member states that are party to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. What it means is, since it was opened for signature, the member states, they come together once every 3 years to discuss wetlands management issues. So to date, 14 meetings have been done. So this will be the 15th Conference of Parties meeting to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands that is going to be hosted by Zimbabwe. So this is a very crucial event and an important event for Zimbabwe to showcase what the country has done in terms of wetlands management issues. This will be also a very good opportunity for Southern Africa, a very good opportunity for Africa, even to show what Africa has done, what Southern Africa has done in terms of wetlands management. This will be a very good platform for discussions by the whole world in terms of wetlands management issues. Why is also hosting such an event important is after the event, Zimbabwe will then assume the presidency of COP. So what it means, after the COP15, Zimbabwe will then assume the presidency of the Convention on Wetlands. What it means is it's an important role that the country is going to play in terms of the global discourse of wetlands management that will be championed by Zimbabwe. So this is crucial for Zimbabwe, this is crucial for Africa, this is also crucial for the whole world.
Definitely crucial for the whole of Africa and indeed the entire world. Well, let's make it even more local, Mr. Mangisi. Can you talk to us about some of the Ramsar sites that we actually have here in Zimbabwe and what that means actually, what makes them internationally important?
Yes, so since Zimbabwe ratified the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands on the 3rd of May 2013, and to date, 7 sites have been designated as wetlands of international importance, otherwise also known as Ramsar sites. So these Ramsar sites, they cover a total surface area of 453,828 hectares. So these 7 listed sites include Victoria Falls, Driefontein grasslands in the Midlands and Masvingo provinces, Manapos in Mashonaland West province, Lake Chwero and Lake Manyame in Harare province, Monavale Vlei in the Midlands and Masvingo province, Chinoi Caves in Mashonaland West province, and lastly Cleveland Dam in Harare province. So these sites are of ecological importance because of various services that they offer. For example, Victoria Falls It's one of the 7 wonders of the world, which is a tourist destination. And we also have Driefontein grasslands, which provide habitat for a wide range of bird species, some of them being migratory. Driefontein is also a headwater for some of the river systems. We also have Manapus, which is also a tourism and recreation destination, which also provide a wide range of large animals. Lake Chifero and Lake Manyame, they provide water for Harare. They are also a habitat for a wide range of animal as well as bird and fish species. Monavevlei, which is also provides a wide range of plant and bird species, and also it also acts as a research and educational center. We also have Chinoi Caves, which is also a tourism destination, and also it is also a cultural center. And then lastly, Cleveland Dam, which also provide water for Harare, which is also used for recreational facilities, and also there are also a variety of wild animals around Cleveland Dam. So these are some of the 7 sites that have been listed by Zimbabwe as sites of international importance because of the value that they provide, mainly tourism and recreation facilities.
Okay, Zimbabwe having 7 internationally recognized wetland sites, Ramsar wetland sites of international importance. This is something that we need to really understand and ensure that we protect these specific wetlands, right? He mentioned these 7, and I hope you remember them. But this doesn't mean the rest of the wetlands we have in the country are not important. All of them are of equal importance, and we will be trying to go around the country to actually see the wetlands that we have and the challenges that we're facing, and even some of the success stories, and getting the community voices on how they've been managing these wetlands, right? But let's pause here for a moment and share a few quick did you know facts, yeah? Did you know that wetlands act like natural sponges, storing water during heavy rains and releasing it slowly during dry season? This reduces flood risks. Or did you know that wetlands are carbon sinks, absorbing greenhouse gases and helping us to slow the effects of climate change? Or did you know that some people think wetlands are wastelands? This is where we throw our litter. This is where we can dump our industrial waste. But in reality, they are some of the most productive ecosystems on Earth. So next time you see a swampy area, don't be quick to dismiss it. It might be protecting your water, your climate, and your future. Now, Mr. Mangisi, as we're closing off, I always say time moves so quickly when we're having fun, but this is just the beginning. So it was sort of entry level where we're trying to get everybody to understand what COP15 is and what the Ramsar Convention looks like and what that means for Zimbabwe. Even to host such a big event. Mr. Mangisi, your parting shots to Zimbabweans as we close off, from school kids to community leaders.
My last message to our listeners out there is we now appreciate the importance of wetlands. So let's all play our part in the wise use of wetlands. Let's also be proactive in terms of management of the remaining wetlands that we have. Let's protect the remaining wetlands for the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mangisi. A rich and eye-opening conversation that we had today. Today we learned that 1. Ramsar is a global agreement which is focused on wetlands, dating back to 1971. So it's one of the oldest, yeah? Number 2, Zimbabwe is one of 172 countries that have signed on, and we're now preparing to host the 15th Ramsar COP this July 2025, and it's the first time it's being convened in Southern Africa. And we've also learned that Zimbabwe will be assuming presidency for the next 3 years. So do know that as Zimbabwe, we will be the presidents of the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. So pauri papo, unenge utori president we Ramsar. Number 3, wetlands are vital for our water, our food, our biodiversity, and climate resilience. And lastly, the threats to wetlands are real, but so are the opportunities for restoration and community participation. Mr. Mangisi, thank you so much for your wisdom, for your leadership, and for your time today and taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Rumbi, for having me on your show. Thank you.
And to our listeners, this is only the beginning. Join us next week on the Conservation Conversation as we continue to count down to Ramsar COP15 and bring you closer to the biggest wetland and environmental conference Zimbabwe and Southern Africa has ever hosted. We will be talking to the chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Environment, Climate and Wildlife, Honorable Sam Matema, as we delve deeper into the legislative aspects of what the Ramsar Convention is all about. This is an international convention that will be taking place here in Zimbabwe, and we will have over 172 parties that are contracted to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. But unfortunately, participation is not open to everyone. So it's either as a government of Zimbabwe delegation, or as a registered exhibitor, or as registered side events participants. You could be service providers to the conference as well, but these are the main categories for participation. However, attendance is also strictly after accreditation and registration, and you can definitely check out the website, which is www.wetlandscop15.gov.zw, and you can find out more information there. And you can also visit their social media platforms at Wetlands COP15 on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, and you can get more information as well. But until next week, I am your host, Rumbi Takawira. Keep the conversation going. I leave you with the 3 R's I always leave you with. Remember to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And remember, conservation begins with you. Take care. See you next week.
Farming on wetlands, we say no. Building on wetlands, we say no. Farming on wetlands, we say no. Building on wetlands, we say no. Let's preserve our wetlands, let's manage. Let's restore value and love our wetlands. City high ewa Kenya makaposini. Aslondolozeni amakaposi. Taura ya upenyu, taura ya ramangwana. Yeah. Farming on wetlands, we say no. Building on wetlands, we say no. Restore and love our wetlands. This message is brought to you by the Environmental Management Agency, EMA, together protecting the environment.
Tune in next week for Conservation Conversation with Rumbi Takawira, only on ZFM Stereo.